at work, right? We have illegal immigrants in the country, whether it be Chicago, New York, LA, all over Texas, doesn't matter. And our tax dollars are supporting all of these different nations, immigrants, etc. And why this is important is because, again, we understand that America is $31 trillion in debt. I went over what a monetary sovereign is. It really doesn't matter to a point where when are we going to stop supporting Ukraine and support the American people? Those who are homeless on the streets, those who are in need of the most care. We hear that the Republicans are talking about, in some form or fashion, modifying or stopping or decreasing Medicaid as well as Social Security. Again, this is abrupt randomness because I'm just going to go and talk about the most random things. Nothing's in order. Nothing's in any sort of precedence here. But I'm just tired because Ukraine doesn't have the military power, doesn't have the military prowess to beat Russia, which is a much larger nation, much more military power than Ukraine. That's why you have people all from the NATO forces, the UN, of course, America, that are helping the Ukrainians in order to fight this war that they're currently in. And for the foreseeable future, family, we're going to continue to support Ukraine because we won't support the Haitians that came over here. And I'm no Pan-Africanist, but again, there are black people, and I'm a black man. I'm a foundational black American. So there is a tie of love with those people for distant, but I do worry about our people first, okay? Because there's a lot of things within the foundational black American community that we absolutely need to fix. And here's the thing. A lot of us judge other nations and other people prior to us going to those countries, right? Um, I encourage everyone, man, woman, and child alike, to get their passports, right? And travel to other countries and get different experience and actually talk to these other cultures and people where they are because they're quite different than the people that come over here. They're quite different than the people that come over here. And the way you go about this, right, whether you're going to the U.S. mail office, you go to certain online sources to get your passport. You can get your passport for $160, or you can get it rushed, I think roughly around $200. Then even with that, family, you want to make sure you get your global entry card. Your global entry card is very important because with your global entry card, what's included is TSA pre-check. You know, when you guys are at the airport, there's another line that says TSA pre-check and you're in that long line waiting to go through the security check. Well, TSA pre-check are actually, once you get up to that point and there's this long line, can actually get you through a lot quicker. Now, prior to that, you want to get your clear, okay? You want to get your clear. My wife and I, my family and I, we have clear. So meaning when we come in, they do a little retina scan, we go through and they take us right up to a TSA pre-check. And literally we're through the gate in 5 minutes. So that is absolutely priceless. So your passport, your TSA pre-check, and of course, clear. But anyway, as I'm looking at this, I'm going to show you, family. Here we go. Americans fighting in Ukraine laid to rest. So what is that telling us? That means that we have American citizens. They didn't say American troops. They didn't say American soldiers or Marines or airmen or navalmen or anything of that nature, but they're saying that Americans, or essentially an American, was killed fighting in Ukraine, meaning that they were already over there, maybe on vacation, maybe in some diplomatic mission, or maybe they just felt the indignation to go over there and fight for another country. I really want you guys to think about that because initially, what Russia said if America intervenes militarily, that they may start a nuclear holocaust. Now, I think Putin backed away from that because we have been helping. We've been sending jets. The jets are probably going to be there in the next month or so, but we've been sending all sorts of aid to Ukraine to fight the Russians, right? And the reason why I think this is important to America, and I said think, right? I read a couple of things of how if Russia gains a foothold within Ukraine and essentially takes over, they're going to be farther west inside the world, which may cause some problems for Belarus, for Europe, for France, for Spain, for all these other quote unquote Western countries. So there's a lot of things going on in America right now, family, and it all involves your tax dollars. Let me tell you this. And I think you guys already know this, but this might hit you a little bit clearer. The American government, the federal government, does not make money. How does the federal government get money? And you already said in your mind, through your tax dollars. Your tax dollars are taken away from the income and the revenue that you went to work from, whether you be an entrepreneur or working for a federal entity, local, state, or independent or nonprofit business, right? They take your tax dollars, they filter it through the federal government, and then they allocate it and disperse it to whatever means that they want to. Guess what? You have no say so in what your federal tax dollars actually go to. Okay, this is abrupt randomness today, family, because I'm here just sitting here enjoying myself, my little private space here. I'm watching the news, and I keep seeing all the support and millions and billions of dollars that we're supporting other nations. And then for my birthday, my wife took me out to LA, my first time even there, and I saw just a mass of people in these tent cities homeless. And it doesn't matter what race you are, what creed you are, what ethnic you are, what religion you are. These are American citizens, and your tax dollars are going to support all these other people. Then you have people on the left. Then you have people on the right. Then you got the liberals and conservatives and Republicans and then Democrats fighting over Medicaid and Social Security, which every time you look at your W-2, because it's tax time, right? It's tax time. They take your American dollars and they filter it into Social Security. They filter into Medicaid. Guess who's using Medicaid? Guess who's using those tax dollars? Illegal immigrants. Federal and international budgets are soaking the money out of America. And guess who's behind it? And here's the thing. You would like to believe it's just the Democrats. No. It's both parties. It doesn't matter who's in office. I want you guys to go on federal websites and actually look up foreign aid each and every year of the federal budget. This is where your tax dollars go, family. This is where your tax dollars go each and every year. And they put this stuff on news. They splatter it on all type of international news every single time. So when we are in the voting booth, right? When we are thinking about what party we're going to vote for, we're thinking about what political candidate we're going to get behind. I keep telling people, do not worry about, do not follow, do not join, do not get into the rhetoric of what political party that you're actually are trying to support. Get behind policies. Because some of the people that I even respect, like one of the news channels I watch on YouTube is Dr. Richie with Undisputable, or is it, I think it's something like of that nature. But you can tell he leans more Democratic than he does Republican, because anytime it was a Republican candidate on the bullpen, he goes off on them. But anytime it's a Democrat, he kind of lays back. So even people you see on TV that you may even respect and follow, family, you have to understand the agendas in place that will essentially persuade you to vote for one political party or another. You should be voting on policies versus people and parties, okay? Policies over people and party each and every time. And I know you heard this over and over again, that your local elections are the most important elections, because those are the elections that have a direct input, have a direct effect on your life and the way you live it, okay? So again, when I'm looking at the news, family, let me tell you something. I see millions and billions of dollars being allocated, being distributed, being dispersed to non-Americans. And I know some of you feel when you're driving around your city, when you're driving around your town, and you see people who are at the bottom of the economy, right? Those who are laying on the street, those who are asking for money, those people who are unsheltered that need our support each and every day. And maybe your penny pension, maybe you're budgeting, you just don't have the money to give it, but you pay your taxes because you really have no choice, right? You can kind of opt out of your taxes for the first 2 years, but every 3 years you do have to file your taxes. And believe me, where are your tax dollars going? That is the question, because at the end of the day, and I've said this many, many times before, there's no country, There is no government without your tax dollars. And the problem with this is when we get up to vote, we let the right influence us. We let the left influence us with all these scare tactics about candidates, right? We don't know if they're selected or elected. What I mean by that, selected, meaning that people got together in that political party and said, we're going to prop up this particular candidate so they can be president or they can be congressman or they can be a representative or they can be an alderman or they can be whoever we want them to be, versus you actually unadulterated, right? Uninfluenced, voting for people based on the policies that they present to the people. If you notice, they do a lot of shaming, they do a lot of scare tactics, they do a lot of propaganda to scare the people to vote for those they want in office, right? And I love the politicians, and you won't find many of them that tell you exactly what they're going to do, and they have the paperwork to support it. They have the paperwork to support it. My policies are X, Y, and Z. But what you get is you get a lot of people where, those Republicans, they racist. Okay, the Democrats are racist too. Well, them Democrats, they ain't gonna do nothing for you, so you should vote Republican. They're not gonna do nothing for you either. So again, I just wish that this, it's frustrating because a lot of our people are very confused about the way that we should go about obtaining some sort of leverage and some sort of power, right? Because essentially, I've said this, in a republic society, which it is, based upon the Constitution, we live in a republic, not a democracy. They like to say, oh, this is a Republican democracy, this is a democracy republic. Family, once you vote for your political candidate, that is it. That is all. I want you to remember this. For those of you who voted in the last presidential election, did you guys have any say so who the next Supreme Court justice would be? Did you guys have any say so in the cabinet that Joe Biden handpicked? No, you didn't. See, and a lot of us, we base our votes off of symbolism, right? Take, for instance, New York. You got Mayor Adams. What did he do? New York or Manhattan and all the different boroughs within New York are considered what? A sanctuary state, where they will flood New York, which New York already has a bunch of immigrants, but now they have a large population of immigrants. How do you think these immigrants are being funded? How do you think these immigrants are being sheltered? How these immigrants are being fed? Through your tax dollars. Now, a lot of your states may not have state taxes, but you have sales tax, you have property tax, and you have all these other taxes that they use in order to support all these other groups. See, a lot of times, family, what we don't understand is that taxes, money, is what runs this company. I was about to say company, which it is. In a sense, it is a company, right? It's a corporation in a sense, because that's the way it's absolutely ran. And Joe Biden is the figurehead, also known as the CEO. But nonetheless, I don't want to get into that conversation because that can get very, very deep, and I may lose a couple of people. But with that being said, this upcoming election is very important because we understand that the reparation conversation is gaining some leadway. And we got people from all different walks of life against reparation. We have people who are also foundational to America that are black, that are absolutely against reparation. I always ask them, if I can get a chance to speak with them, why are you against reparations? Right? And they come up with the most wild, outlandish responses and answers. I'm like, so everyone else that America has done wrong can get repaired through monetary cash payments, except Black Americans that are foundational to this land. Those U.S. melanated freemen that our ancestors, right? And some people try to debunk this. They tell you that the Italians, that the Irish, that the Chinese built this nation. We know who built this nation, family. We're the first. Now, when we go back, and I'm not going to go back all the way to essentially of Africa and bring us all the way through slavery. I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you this. Melanated people are the first people on earth, as even the white, Caucasian, European hybrids already stated this. and we've built walls and we've built structures and we built houses. There's no history of black people living in caves. We had the Moors, which are considered black people, who went over to Spain and ruled Spain for 700 years. We brought spices, we brought medicines, we brought engineering, we brought all sorts of things to Europe as well as the Americas. And we don't have to go back very far within the Black American history of all the inventions that we've created. So I just want you guys to be very mindful the next time you guys go up to the ballot box of what you essentially are voting for. Because I'm gonna tell you like this, family, if reparations not on the table, no one's getting my vote. No one's getting my vote. And I know some people may say, well, it's much more than reparations. We're voting for the democracy. We're voting so the racists won't get in. Family, if you notice, both sides are racist. See, people would like to erase Joe Biden's past, but they would like to bring up Donald Trump's past. Both of them, in my opinion, are equally racist. It just depends on how you like to be talked to, right? Because you can be belittled, you can be talked down to in two different ways, right? Some people can use benign neglect, meaning that once I get your vote, then I ignore you. And some people are like, hey, listen, we want your vote, but we ain't willing to do anything for you. That's mostly Republicans, but guess what? You receive the same results. And what are the results? Absolutely nothing. That's the results, family. But anyway, that's all I really had to say. I was just watching the news here, chilling on a Friday night, and just looking at the glued tube, just like shaking my head, like all the money in the Ukrainians, right? The Ukrainian government is still asking for military support. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And guess what? They're going to get it. They're going to get it, family. Unfortunately, they're going to get it. And guess where they're getting the money from? Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. I don't want to beat a beaten drum. Your tax dollars. Shout out goes to Jermaine Anderson. Thank you for moderating, sir. And I see D General in the room as well. You guys have a good night. But I really want you guys to key in and listen in on what's going on in America because it directly affects you and your bottom line. Y'all have a good one. Bye.